Welcome you to today's event. My name is Angelos Sakanikas. I'm the director of the Laboratory of Industrial and Energy Economics at the National Technical University of Athens. This event, under the title of From Research to Market, Promoting High Technology Women Entrepreneurship, is coordinated in the context of the initiative Weekly Women Entrepreneurship, which is a global initiative that started 8 years ago from the University of New Jersey in the United States. And various universities, now more than 140 universities around the globe, that they deal with the topic of entrepreneurship, and especially women entrepreneurship. In Greece here, this is the third event that we coordinate as our team, our laboratory, in collaboration with the Incubator EPI.noo, in which we also operate, and we try to actually stimulate entrepreneurship in general. And our topic, of course, is always, as this is the overall topic, to capture various elements of women entrepreneurship and what are the major characteristics and the challenges that women face in Greece and elsewhere when they try to become entrepreneurs, and possibly to when they have a research activity to transfer this to the market. So I would like to thank all the speakers that they are with us today, and welcome you all. And Emilia Protogiorou will have the coordination of this panel and the rest of today's event. So, Emilia.
Okay, hello everyone. We're so excited to have you all here today to participate in this webinar on women entrepreneurship. Angelos said all the details already, but I would like to stress that our aim here is to highlight significant aspects of female entrepreneurship in our country. And we're very honored and pleased to have some exceptionally talented women here with us this evening. Women from academia who are very much involved in research, but at the same time, they are also interested in exploiting the results of their research. And also young women with a strong research profile who are also trying to turn their research into specific knowledge and technology-intensive products and services. We do hope that this will be an interesting and, most importantly, inspiring event, especially for our students. Let me start by setting the scene for the next 10 minutes or so and present some stylized facts at the European level that will show us that there is still a gender gap in research and innovation activity, and this, of course, impacts entrepreneurial activity as well. And while this trend is slowly changing, that is, the gap is bridging, there is a long way to go. So let me start sharing my screen. Sorry. Can you all see my screen?
Yes. Yes, we do.
I hope so. So our starting point here is that the area of research and innovation, in the area of research and innovation, the European Commission is committed to advancing gender equality. I'm going to show you some stylized facts, as I already said, on the path towards gender equality in research and innovation in Europe. Gender equality and gender mainstreaming, with gender mainstreaming would mean that we're trying to integrate gender equality, the gender equality perspective in all stages and levels of policies, programs and projects, is one of the key priorities of the European research area, and their promotion is a clear, let's say, objective and a legal obligation under the EU Framework Program for research and innovation. In the next few slides, I'm going to present some highlights of some recent data, the latest available data actually, on the state of gender equality in research and innovation activities across EU countries. Today, the pool of women is increasing among PhD graduates. This is a fact. But at the same time, and the proportion of women in the senior academic ranks has also been increasing in Europe, and the EU has established itself as world leader in integrating the gender dimension in research. However, this progress is indeed slow. That means that we have a long way to go to achieve full gender parity, full gender equality. And as we can see here in this graph, although the gap between women and men in doctoral degrees has narrowed down, women make up 48% of doctoral graduates in EU 27 countries. There is still women's underrepresentation in technology professions and engineering professions, as women only make up 24.9% of self-employed professionals in engineering and ICT sectors. In most European countries, a literature review, but also relevant data tell us that while more women attend and graduate from universities than men, women are consistently underrepresented both in teaching and in research positions. And as we can see in this graph, women continue to be underrepresented in senior academic positions. Overall, women account for 42.3% of academic staff on average across countries, but they are underrepresented in higher grades of academia, higher levels of academia. Furthermore, what we can see here in this graph, and also based on literature review that we have made, is that the unequal gender structure in academia persists both at entry and at higher levels, as men hold more top positions in universities than women, and this underrepresentation of women in senior academic positions actually remains and persists regardless of the variation in the history of the educational systems in different countries, and regardless, of course, of changes in their equality policies. That means that there is a gender inequality in academia, both at entry and higher levels. And as we can see here, in the left-hand side of our graph, women are underrepresented in key decision-making positions in academia, for example, as heads of higher institutions, as only 23.6% on average become heads of their institutions. And women also remain a minority in scientific and advisory boards of research funding organizations as well. Women also remain less successful in securing funding and are lagging behind in terms of research and innovation output. And while they're lagging behind in securing research funding at an average rate of 3.9%, which is not that much, the scenario changes completely when we consider the number of male versus male applicants for research funding. Here, several studies show that in all countries and agencies, female principal investigators account for 35% or less of the applicants to scientific grants. And this imbalance appears to be greater among senior researchers. For example, at the European Research Council, what we have seen based on the latest available data is that the European Research Council has different programs for 3 career stages, that is starting, consolidator, and advanced researchers. And the proportion of female applicants in 2019 there were 38%, 31%, and 17% respectively. What is also quite important to emphasize here is that the percentage of women patent holders also is very low. Also, it accounts for 10.7% of women researchers in academia, and 1 in 3 authors of scientific publications is a woman. Going further, we have been trying to see whether there is an engagement gap regarding gender differences in academia, in industry collaboration activities. And here our literature review shows that women academics engage less and in different ways than their male counterparts of similar status in different collaboration types with industry, such as, for example, contract research agreements, joint research projects, or consultancy in personnel training projects. But what is important to note here is that these differences can be attenuated, can be decreased by the social context in which women scientists operate, including the presence of women in the local setting or in their wider discipline, and of course, the institutional support for women's careers in their organization, that is, in work environments where active efforts are made to promote and foster diversity. The differences in patterns of engagement with industry are attenuated. And last slide with facts. We have seen that there is a gender gap in entrepreneurship and in academia, but does this gap persist in PhD entrepreneurship as well? How does the academic environment impacts PhD students' success in starting a business venture, or influences their entrepreneurial intentions and their research and innovation activities? Well, what literature review suggests is that while university policies, diverse university policies, can support to some extent PhD entrepreneurship, what really makes a difference for women wishing to become self-employed is to have the opportunity to study and do research in a gender-balanced environment where they can engage with and be inspired and guided by same-sex peers. In other words, role models matter. Women in academia, which act as role models, matter very much for young researchers. This opportunity to work in a guided environment and be inspired by same-sex peers mitigates gender differences and help women catching up with men in starting business ventures. And to close my short presentation, I would again like to stress that based on the facts, the stylized facts we just saw, progress towards bridging the gender gap in research and innovation activity seems to have been made. But this progress is slow, and we still have a long way to go to achieve full gender parity. A complete cultural change, which requires systematic and coordinated actions, educated and strong political commitment by all actors involved, is an important prerequisite. And of course, 3 words, agility, adaptability, and creative mindsets, are important here in order to be able to effectuate such a change. Gender equality is not only a matter of concern for women, to take scientific excellence to the next level and deliver science-based solutions and address many urgent and pressing global challenges effectively, we need all talents at play, and women can play a very significant and decisive role here. Thank you very much for your attention. And I would like to close my presentation here. I would stop sharing my screen. And I would like to go on with our program now. These were just some stylized facts, just to set the scene. Our first speaker today, our first distinguished speaker, is Nadia Nikita. Nadia is a professor at the School of Electrical and Computer Engineering at the National Technical University of Athens. Thank you so much for being here with us today. She is director of the Mobile Radio Communications Lab, and she's also the founder and director of the Biomedical Simulations and Imaging Lab, where the goal is to turn cutting-edge technology into healthcare innovation. So, Nadia, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Emilia. Let me start sharing my screen. So thank you very much for this introduction. It gives me great pleasure to be part of this event and share experiences with colleagues from the women entrepreneurship ecosystem. We live in the most exciting time for science and engineering in human history, and I'm sure you have heard this statement many times during the past years. I'm convinced that this will continue being the case for every year from now on, and every year will be more exciting than ever. And the fundamental reason behind this is simple. We live in a time of exponential growth that is driven by technology. The exponential describes the rapid acceleration of technological and social changes brought about by innovation, which cut across all other drivers of change. Consider the invention of electricity in 1873. It took decades for electricity to become widely adopted. Now look at smartphones, which only took a few years to reach millions of users. Look at the digital transformation that took place during the last 2 years. And look at the development of COVID-19 vaccines in the previous year. If there is something we learned the past couple of years is how fast the world can change. Looking back and with the benefit of hindsight, we can see that exponential changes are also brought about by phenomena around us. Indeed, the spread of COVID-19 is nothing short of an exponential, but the accelerating pace of technology innovation brings great hope that even phenomena such as epidemics, also exponentially growing, at least for a while, can be addressed. I argue then that we not only should adapt the change, but also to lead change to hug the exponential, so to speak.
Oh dear, but I want to see these people. Wait a moment, connecting.
As technological advances move from the lab to the marketplace, and as companies form to pursue commercial applications, we see a number of similarities in how and why they are being developed, and a powerful ecosystem is taking shape to drive their development. We witnessed the power of that ecosystem in the previous year
Konstantina Nikita.
as Moderna and the team of BioNTech and Pfizer separately took 2 COVID-19 vaccines from genomic sequence to market in less than a year. Although these companies did remarkable work at unheard of speed, they benefit from the work of many others, including governments, venture capitals and big business, and of course the academia. All of these are critical players in the coming wave, the next big surge of innovation powered by emerging technologies and the approach of deep tech entrepreneurs. The Great Wave encompasses artificial intelligence, synthetic biology, nanotechnologies, quantum computing, among other advanced technologies. But in a world where the pace of technological innovation is continually accelerating, we must reimagine engineering education and research. To develop solutions to important societal problems in such a world, engineers must have more than technical skill, they must also have character. Universities should help students develop the mindset of change to thrive in today's world. We need to prepare students not only with superb technical skills and knowledge to lead the exponentially changing technology, but also with mindsets of agility and adaptability, with deeper understanding of human cultures, and with the purpose of developing and using technology for the good of humanity. Globally, it is becoming more and more common in universities to integrate programs and courses to encourage young minds to embrace principles of innovation and entrepreneurship early in their career. And in an age when innovation is increasingly a group endeavor, a lot of soft skills, leadership, humility, collaboration, adaptability, planning and organizing, loving to learn and relearn are core skills and capabilities central to successful career paths. To address this need of change, of changing our approach to engineering education, 5 years ago in our school, the School of Electrical and Computer Engineering at the National Technical University of Athens, we developed the course mHealth and eHealth Technologies that purposefully connects a student's technical work with its societal impact. The course embraces project and problem-based learning, allowing students to incorporate real-world experiences in their curriculum. This approach of active or action-based learning is not new. Its core concept is simple. There is greater value in learning by doing. It is not enough for students to merely know the how, for example, how to solve a partial differential equation, but the why is more important. Why is this equation needed and when is it applicable? The course focuses on innovative solutions that address crucial problems in the field of digital health. Students are called upon to design and implement these solutions as part of a team and develop new critical skills in the process. The subject of the course enables students to explore the intersection of engineering and medicine. And this area was chosen having in mind that the convergences of technologies and of approaches are extremely important in accelerating and redefining innovation for decades to come. On the other hand, it is recognized that real transformation in healthcare can only happen through a strong partnership of medicine with engineering. Indeed, most medical advances, from personalized medicine to diagnosis and cures, rely on novel technological platforms with rates of growth that parallel the ubiquitous exponential. Another significant feature of the course is its focus on promoting the convergence of artificial intelligence and technology to improve and benefit society. AI is rapidly becoming the enabling discipline of our times, playing a key role in the exponentially growing technologies. The course embeds students in the research lab, pairing them with PhD mentors. Students pick up tools and techniques to design and make working models in an integrative experience, and they learn by doing. We focus on collaborative culture, promoting trust, respect, and responsibility. Our students are given a role and level of responsibility similar to what they might experience in a professional workplace. The mentors and faculty members provide some supervision, but the students are fully accountable for all aspects of the project and thus gain skills critical to their transition to the engineering workforce. Students in the course are evaluated on the basis of their final project deliverable and the technical presentation, their artifact presentation, which is in the form of a 5-minute pitch, but also on the basis of intermediate deliverables, including project outline, which determines the scope of the project, builds on its scientific value, describes the role of each member, and plans the project. And also intermediate project reports, which consist of 5-minute presentation, where the students must justify the feasibility of their approach in relation to their progress so far. Apart from coaching, the educational approach includes a series of lectures and interactive workshops on design, prototyping, project planning, communication, and the course aims to help students develop a range of soft and other professional skills in addition to their engineering competence, emphasizing the importance of a holistic engineering education. Students develop oral and written communication skills, the ability to see the big pictures and think broadly about engineering systems, and the ability to work in teams. To enhance the educational experience of our students, we exploit synergies with our international professional institutes, the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, using resources and services to foster entrepreneurial engineering and technological innovation. We encourage our students to actively participate in seminars, organize and attend lectures centered around case studies given by guest speakers from startups, clinical trial specialists, and investment firms. These case studies give students a sense of the process and challenges in developing their own digital health service or product idea. Our students are usually involved and take part in several international programming competitions and hackathons. And also to support our students at their first professional steps, we have partnered with the IEEE Young Professionals Greece and initiated a mentoring activity. The mentors, who are experienced engineers from industry, academia, and government, share with their mentees their experience and provide guidance in improving skills and enhancing career development. During the past 2 years, the class emphasized on teaching students how to design medical products, services, and technologies to help solve the needs of real people in the middle of a serious human crisis. The project topics range from virtual personal assistance for mental health interventions, to navigation tools for the visually impaired, to virtual surgical training, to explainable AI for cancer diagnosis, to COVID-19 diagnosis and prediction through machine learning. Some of these projects have led to publications in international conferences and also even in journals. Students are also given the opportunity to continue their work, if they wish, on the project as part of their diploma thesis or as a side project in the lab. Focusing on the enrollment of female students in this course, the numbers show that in a traditionally male-dominated school like our school, we are progressing toward gender balance. Female students finish their projects and successfully complete the course at a higher percentage than their male peers. For the 3rd year in a row, female enrollment and successful completion of the course has increased, leading to our spring 2021 class, which was almost gender balanced. At the end of the semester, we used to organize a closure event for the course. Student teams have the opportunity to present evocative objects that they have developed as hallmarks of their gained knowledge and experience within the framework of the course. An interactive demonstration session takes place, featuring presentations of artifacts such as scientific posters, interactive magazines, videos, websites, and apps, where attendees enjoy a cup of coffee and engage in fruitful discussions. An elevator pitch session also follows, where teams can briefly present their artifact and the concept behind it, and the participants finally vote for the selection of the best artifact. This year we partnered with a course taught in the 8th semester at the School of Mechanical Engineering. The course is entitled Biodesign, And we organized together an event where 11 finalist teams of students from both courses came together in a virtual meeting to present their projects to an external panel of experts. And we were fortunate to have on board distinguished colleagues with valuable experience in innovation who evaluated the ideas, the projects and services developed by the student teams. Although the two courses emphasize on different aspects, with our course focus being on the development of sound technology solutions, while the biodesign course emphasizes on business solutions and approach, an attempt was made by our panel of experts to evaluate the projects based on a combined set of criteria, which included innovation of the proposed solution, expected benefits and degree of interconnection with the health sector, technical soundness, design and development approach, degree of maturity and possibility of clinical and commercial utilization, quality of the oral presentation, and answer to the questions of the panel of experts. The event was, we were very happy that the event was a real success. The participants had the opportunity to interact, to get valuable feedback from experts and peers, and exchange ideas in inspiring and fruitful, although virtual environment. In their evaluation form for the event, the students expressed their satisfaction and enthusiasm and asked for more opportunities for interaction beyond the school and the university borders. Looking at the statistics of the finalist presentation event, the NTUA 2021 Biotech Day, in terms of female participation and awards, we can observe that the corresponding percentages were 31% and 50% for the awards. Now, building on our experience with this course, we have developed, in collaboration with the School of Mechanical Engineering, a master program titled Translational Engineering in Health and Medicine. The aim of this program is to focus on translation and contribute to the nurture of a new deep technology ecosystem that will bring discoveries in health from the lab to the marketplace. In this master program, we will include biodesign innovation, a fast-paced project-based course for students with a passion for entrepreneurship and a commitment for improving healthcare for patients through technology innovation. Over 2 semesters, multidisciplinary teams of students will research and validate real-world medical needs, invent new health technology products to address them, and plan for their full implementation into patient care. The students are expected to acquire a very diverse set of soft skills and to be exposed in all steps required to bring a research discovery to a medical product or service. At the end of the course, motivated teams will have the opportunity to compete for funding to continue developing their projects. This sequence of courses increases the time spent in a typical design program from 1 to 2 or even 3 semesters, as students will be able to work on large teams within the framework of their diploma thesis as well. They will experience all aspects of engineering and management work, taking on increasing responsibility throughout the project. And we ultimately aim to partner with international universities and stakeholders to contribute in shaping the university innovation entrepreneurship health ecosystem in Greece. These are just examples of the effort to respond to the exponentially changing technology and rethink undergraduate and graduate engineering education. Activities that we do at the university to change the face of engineering, change what we do as engineers in advancing technology and engineering as we move forward. And as we move forward, we should remember the graph on my first slide. Remember to hug the exponential. Think and act forward and outward, not backward and inward. Quantum physicist Dave Deutsch once said, problems are inevitable and all problems are solvable. With the power of technology, difficult problems will continue to become increasingly solvable. And with this optimistic view, I would like to end my today's presentation and thank you once again.
Emilia, you are muted.
Sorry, I was muted.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
I stop shared my screen, okay.
Yeah, and I was muted, I'm sorry. Thank you so much, Nadia, for this very interesting and inspiring presentation. It's so good to see that such initiatives are taking place at the undergraduate, but also at the graduate level. And all this mentality of addressing real world problems and trying to bridge engineering with medicine, but also building several types of skills. You mentioned soft skills, design skills, and entrepreneurial skills is very, very important in order to actually come from research discovery in real products. So it's very, very important in my view. Thank you so much. I would like to welcome the floor for any questions or comments.
What is very interesting is that our students, how our students accept this kind of activities in their curriculum. I think that as we have seen that the course started 5 years ago, but the projects that the students are able to deliver this year, I think the quality has been very much improved, and they have a very positive attitude towards acquiring this kind of skills through the courses and their education. This is very important, and I think it's they are also looking for extracurricular activities a lot, and this partnership with IEEE for our school and our course is really a very positive fact, and we learn a lot, and the students learn a lot because they are active, they organize events, they define needs, and they invite people, and they discuss about things that they matter for them.
So synergies with other institutions are very, very important in order to build a holistic engineering education, as you said before. If there are no other comments or questions, we can move on to our next speaker. Yes? Okay. Our next distinguished speaker is Efi Tsakalidou. Efi is Professor of Food Biochemistry in the Department of Food Science and Human Nutrition at the Agricultural University of Athens. And she's also the director of the ACADC collection of microorganisms of the Laboratory of Dairy Research. Thank you very much for being here with us today. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Emilia. Thank you, Yanis, for this invitation. I will start saying that I was really impressed by Nadia's presentation before. I wish we had the same spirit and the same framework in the Agricultural University of Athens. Well done. Well done. Well, having said that, I'm going to tell you a very humble story about our... Can you see my screen? Can you
see your screen?
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
A very humble story from.
Can use the show mode. We can see also the small slides on the left part.
Okay.
Please.
Yes.
Better
presentation.
now.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's better now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Very humble story from the Agricultural University of Athens, a story which is 35 years old, about food microorganisms and the collection we have created starting in 1987 in our laboratory, which is really a treasure chest of microorganisms which have pro-technological and health-promoting features. I don't consider myself an entrepreneur, but I think thanks to these living prokaryotes, we have the tool to do research in our lab and also to get funding and even from the private sector to continue our research and get funding by making these microorganisms popular around the globe. Okay, these microorganisms are coming from, we isolate these microorganisms from fermented foods, and food fermentation is the most ancient method to preserve raw material, no matter milk or meat or cereals or whatever. And in this sense, as we can see in this table, the history of fermented food is almost 6,000 years old. And the food culture, the fermented food culture is based on very specific parameters. Among them, the most important ones are geography, where the region of the fermented food is prepared, the climate, history, social and religious elements shape this culture of fermented foods. And in this sense, there are fermented foods which are global. I mean, you can find more or less the same dairy product all around the globe. And on the other hand, there are many, many fermented foods which are typical for specific regions in the world, like poi in Polynesia or kiviak in Greenland, or duts in China, chuno in South America, and millet beer in Central Africa. I can give you more details about these foods if you would like later on. What these microorganisms are doing in the raw material? We didn't know anything about this until Louis Pasteur at the end of the 19th century discovered microorganisms. Until then, people used to prepare foods microorganisms by the so-called backsloping. I mean, they used sour milk, which was yogurt, to prepare the yogurt of the next day. They didn't know that microorganisms were there, but they exploit the potential of these microorganisms. Since the microorganisms were discovered by Pasteur and started getting identified and characterized, almost 150 years now, we know that these microbes are the ones that are doing the food fermentation, and nowadays these microbes are used as starter cultures, so they edit purposely in the raw material and do the fermentation, the control fermentation. And the market size of these microorganisms around the world, as you can see here, was 4 years ago about $1 trillion US, and it's going to go up to 1.5 billion in the next couple of years. So there is a huge market there, which is actually controlled by less than 10 companies around the world preparing these starter cultures for the food industry. By fermenting the raw material, these microorganisms shape the shelf life, the nutritional value, and the sensorial properties of the final product. So you can take milk and transform it into yogurt or cheese and get a more safe product, a product with a longer shelf life, a more a product with better taste and aroma, and the product with higher nutritional profile. Besides this technological, let's say, traits of microbes doing the food fermentation, we know nowadays that these microorganisms can have an impact on human health. We have 10 times more microbial cells on our body. Most of them are in the digestive tract, mainly in the small and large intestine. These microbes interact with the rest of our body, and not only with conventional tissues like the intestine as such, but even with the gut, with the brain. Now we are talking now about the so-called gut-brain axis, so how food microorganisms impact the gut microorganisms, and how these gut microorganisms can control, let's say, the central nerve system. There are very promising results regarding health cases like Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer, depression, mood in general. So it's not only the technological phase of the microorganisms, it's also the health-related phase. We didn't know all this, especially regarding the impact of microorganisms in human health when we started creating this collection in 1987, thanks to several EU-funded projects that we got as a group. It was the time, late 80s, beginning of 90s, in the European Union that there was food microorganisms was a priority. But from the technological point of view, anyway, it gave us the funds, the grants that we needed to create this collection with the mission to explore and preserve these microorganisms which are indigenous in the Greek fermented foods. This collection is meanwhile a member of the European Cultural Collection Organization, the World Federation of Cultural Collection, and we have a small website, a very basic website if you want to have a look at this. After almost 35 years, we have more than 4,000 holdings, bacteria and yeast mainly, coming from dairy products, table olives, grapes, and sourdough, which are prepared from traditional Greek foods, not industrial foods, I mean, not foods that are prepared using commercial, industrialized starter cultures. At that time, we were lucky enough to describe two novel species, Streptococcus macedonicus, which is my kid back in 1998 from Kaseritzis in Larissa, and Lactobacillus imai later on from Eptasimo sourdough in Crete. And we also we have also isolated two quite uncommon species for Greek products, from Greek fermented foods, Lactobacillus renini and Lactobacillus acidipicis, from Kopanisti, from traditional Kopanistichis, I mean Kopanistichis prepared traditionally without the use of commercial starters. For all these isolates, what we first do is to study, to explore the technological potential. And in the last 15 to 20 to 15 years, we also explore the probiotic potential, which is the impact of some of these strains on human health. And I will show you later on some snapshots of this work. Having isolated many of these strains, not only by getting involved in EU projects, but also in national grants, we try to convince the food industry in Greece to use these microbes in industrial fermentations. They didn't see the point at that time. And we were really thrilled when Christian Hansen, the biggest company in the world from Denmark, no surprise, came to us in 2008 and said, okay, guys, you have a nice collection. We have seen your results in the literature. Let's have a deal. We want to have your strains and try to commercialize them around the globe. Christian Hansen is our friend since then. They came with respect to the biological material, respecting the so-called Nagoya Protocol, which applies for all biological resources around the world. And later on came 3 other companies, SAF, DSM, and DuPont and ISCO, completely competitive to Christian Hansen. When they saw the success of the products that Christian Hansen was distributing, they came to us, and we have a total of 3 licensing agreements with this until now. Yeah, but which means that we have a contract that we give the permission to the companies to commercialize these strains. Some strains of our collection, and are giving us an amount of money. We don't know really if this is what we deserve, but this is international rules, and money which help us to keep to maintain the collection, and also to fund internal projects when no EU or national grants are there. What we have also done based on this material is to prepare a business plan. It was within the MOKE, Yannis, the MOKE of the Agricultural University of Athens, to build a unit in Greece, so that we produce these starter cultures in Greece and not have licensing agreements with the foreign companies that I mentioned before. And also a business plan to have a dairy unit which can produce dairy products using the know-how that we have in the laboratory of dairy research, and also the strains of our collection. None of this business plan got the attention that we think it deserves. Okay, I think I have some time, right, Emilia? Just to give you a couple of examples from our work.
Okay,
Is it okay?
some minutes.
Okay, thank you. So this is my kit, as I said before, Streptococcus macedonicus. Streptococci are mostly pathogenic, you know it, pyogenes, pneumoniae. There is only one Streptococcus, Streptococcus thermophilus, which is the standard starter culture in yogurt production. We were really surprised when we isolated in 1998 a new Streptococcus species from Greek Aceri cheese. We were first to describe this species, which has been well isolated from around the world from different and diverse fermented foods, as you can see in the slide. What this species does is that it produces very small protein, a peptide of 2,400 Daltons, which is active against pathogenic streptococci, and also Clostridium tributyricum, which is spoilage microorganism in hard cheese production. And we have proven that this molecule is produced by Streptococcus macedonicus during the production of Aceri cheese, both in the cheese making plant of our laboratory and in fermentation simulated the Aceri cheese production. The other example is Lactobacillus plantarum, again an isolate from Aceri cheese, which has a very interesting biological ecosystem. We use it as feed supplement in goats in Cyprus. for 1 month. And what we have seen is that Clostridia, the number of Clostridia reduced in the gut of the animals, which is good, while the lactobacilli increase, which is again good for the health of the animals. And the second thing that we observed is that the polyunsaturated fatty acids in milk increased, and among them rumenic acid, which is a very interesting fatty acid in the sense that it's, the increase of rumenic acid indicates that we have low methanogenesis in the gut of the animals. And as you know, methane, especially in countries like New Zealand, for instance, it's the major problem in regarding gas emissions. And a last example, there are many. A last example is that the new techniques that we have introduced to study this microbiota of Greek fermented foods, we apply this in raw milk, no matter goat, sheep, or cow. We apply this in grapes and winemaking. This is an example of the metagenomics application in Greek table olives. You can use this technique to as an indicator of identifying the origin of the food. As you can see here, you have 3 different areas in Greece: Evia, Amphissa, and Mount Athos. And you can see regarding the bacteria which have been identified, the isolated region of Athos has a completely different bacterial fingerprint compared to the rest of the regions. But also among the regions which are not far away from each other, Amphissa and Evia have also significant differences, and this is also the case when we are talking about the yeast genera. So metagenomics is a new method we have introduced in the last 10 years in our lab, not only to continue the work that we have done with the classical microbiological approach that we have applied so far, but also to develop new tools to fingerprint with accuracy the difference between the origin, let's say, of the foods in different areas of Greece. We have just finished a project on the Nemea PDO area about PDO wine of Nemea, and the results are really amazing. Okay, so microbes are the majority of microorganisms in ecological needs, and we have to respect them and explore them and use them in many different ways to improve the quality of food, the safety of food, but also the human health. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this stimulating presentation. I think it's an impressive work. It's an very impressive work. And it's what you said, it's mission-oriented research. Actually, what you've done, trying with a systematic way to explore and preserve the microbial diversity of the Greek traditional foods. And you talked about 2 business plans. And before giving the floor to any questions, I would like to ask, what happened to these 2 business plans?
Well, I don't know. We have, I know, and it is said. I mean, we have talked, we have started discussions with Attica Band many years ago. They were willing to fund this business, although they are expensive because you really need money for the facilities in both cases. But then the problem was that at that time the administration of the Greek universities was contra. I mean, you know, universities are not allowed to do such things, you know, to behave like private companies. Most recently, we have contacted these companies like the Big Egg. Is that so? Big Egg, and another one in the OPA, the Economic University of Athens. And the response was too much money, we cannot afford this. So I don't think that we have any hope to, I don't know. These are big investments regarding the equipment that you need, and nobody's, as far as I understood in Greece, is willing to spend such money in so much money in this kind of investments. Although I must say, when we started with the starter culture unit, Christian Hansen was willing to participate as long as there was someone in Greece to invest on this business plan. Yeah.
Okay, let's hope that things will change in a way. Are there any questions from the floor? Yes, Constantia?
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Thank you very much for this very nice presentation and very interesting.
Would you speak up a bit?
Yes,
Speak
can you
up.
hear me?
Yes, okay.
Okay. Thank you very much for this very interesting presentation. I would like to kindly ask you whether you have investigated receiving attractive funding from the EPI Fund. Or is the new tool which is in Greece recently?
But I think that the Big Egg and the other, these are equity funded companies, right?
Okay, I'm not quite.
We never applied directly to equity fund, but we applied through these 4, I think, companies, at least the 4 that I know that are getting money from equity fund.
Yes, Metavalon, Velocity, all this, and you didn't manage to receive funding regardless the results that you have shown. Okay.
No.
I really hope that this will change in the near future, because it seems that your business idea has lots of potential.
I hope so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Emilia, I have a question, if I may.
Of course, Ioanna.
A question for Professor Tsakalidou. Thank you for your presentation. I was wondering, do you have any intellectual property protection for your research results?
The licensing agreements that we have clearly state that this is property of the these trains are property of the Agricultural University of Athens. This is the only thing that we have, and I think all companies respect this since the Nagoya Protocol applies since many years now. Regarding the research results, it depends on what we want to publish and not. In the agreements, we clearly state that if we want to publish, we just inform the company, and if the company does not have any objections, I mean, so far we had no problems about this. But the biological material is a property of the Agricultural University of Athens.
Okay, yes, I understand. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no other questions, then we will move on with our program and Startup Technology Entrepreneurship. And Konstantia Zarkogianni is our first speaker here. She's co-founder of News for Health, which is a startup company exploiting advanced technologies to offer adaptive solutions for patient empowerment, medical decision support, and health promotion. Thank you for being with us today, Konstantia. And the floor is yours to share your experience with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Emilia. Hello, everyone. My name is Konstantia Zarkogianni, and I'm a permanent teaching laboratory staff at the School of Electrical and Computer Engineering of the National Technical University of Athens. First of all, I would like to express my thanks to Emilia for inviting me in this very interesting panel and giving me the opportunity to present News for Health. News for Health is a startup venture initiated by 4 engineers with a strong background in biomedical engineering. We are all members of the Biomedical Simulations and Imaging Laboratory, which is directed by Professor Konstantina Nikita. You may see that in this team, the female presence is strong. Given our scientific background in designing, developing, and evaluating intelligent clinical decision support systems, the focus of News for Health is to capitalize upon this know-how and knowledge towards the development of products and services able to be personalized and adapted to the specific end users' preferences and requirements. Our first goal is the development of solutions facilitating self-disease management in diabetes mellitus. This slide presents information regarding the market size. The disease has a high prevalence globally, accounting for 9% of the global population. Diabetes is a chronic illness that requires continuing medical care, while it is associated with acute episodes and long-term mortality-related complications, which results in burdening financially the healthcare systems. Up to 10% of the global healthcare expenditures are allocated for the management of diabetes mellitus. Unfortunately, diabetes is responsible for 11% of all-cause mortality. Insulin is a protein hormone that is used as a medication to treat high blood glucose levels. Patients with type 1 diabetes should receive exogenous insulin on a daily basis in order to survive. You may see in these pictures the benefit of applying an insulin treatment plan for 3 months. For this reason, insulin is on the World Health Organization's list of essential medicines. There are 3 pharmaceutical companies manufacturing insulin. These 3 companies are commonly called the Big Three because they control over 90% of the global insulin market and, of course, play a crucial role in shaping the competition related to technologies for the management of diabetes mellitus. The competition is so high that Sanofi announced withdrawing research in insulin. Optimal management of diabetes requires intensive glycemic control. However, inherent increased complexity of glucose metabolism makes it difficult to achieve optimal glycemic control. There are several factors affecting glucose metabolism, such as psychology, lifestyle in terms of diet and physical activity, and of course medication. For this reason, there is an urgent need to apply a personalized treatment plan. We are proposing solutions for optimizing glycemic control in both types: type 1 diabetes, which is usually diagnosed in children, and type 2 diabetes, which is usually diagnosed in adults. Training children with type 1 diabetes in self-disease management is considered of utmost importance in regulating blood glucose levels. However, standard training programs require the healthcare professionals to dedicate increased working time. Taking also into consideration the psychological status of a new diagnosed child with type 1 diabetes, we came up with the idea to exploit the fun part of a video game towards transmitting important and difficult to understand clinical messages. That was the motivation for developing Dragamis, which is a serious game empowering children with type 1 diabetes while promoting effective lifestyle behavioral changes and raising awareness to the public regarding the disease of diabetes mellitus. Drakamis is an interactive storytelling in which the user experiences a unique story based on his or her interactions with the story world. The main characters, Peter and Richard, are two children with type 1 diabetes. Peter lives in the present while Richard lives in the past, in particular in the Middle Ages. With the help of a team of dragons, the two children can communicate with each other, and Peter's mission is to train Richard in regulating his blood glucose levels. The player identifies with Peter and takes decisions which affect his blood glucose levels. In this manner, the player understands the affective role of lifestyle and medication in glucose metabolism while realizing the benefits of complying to the insulin treatment plan. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, we have managed to perform some pilot testings in primary schools and at the Medtronic Diabetes Shop in order to evaluate Drakamis' effectiveness in terms of user experience. It should be noted, though, that prior to executing these pilots, we have communicated Drakamis with experts and healthcare professionals in training children with type 1 diabetes in order to receive appropriate feedback for ensuring the reliability of the Drakamis content in terms of treating diabetes. The pilots took place in two primary schools in Athens and Thessaloniki. In total, 300 students interacted with Drakamis. Some important findings are presented in this slide. Most of the children didn't know about the disease of diabetes. Many children make unhealthy choices from the school canteen, while a small percentage of children perform physical activity systematically. The pilots took place in two primary schools in Athens and Thessaloniki. Most of the children were particularly engaged by Drakamis, justifying its potential in being accepted. Following the pilots at schools, we have established a partnership with the Pan-Hellenic Association for the Fight Against Juvenile Diabetes and Medtronic in order to perform pilot testings in children with type 1 diabetes. The obtained outcomes provide evidences of positive experience, while negative effect has been declared, no negative effect has been declared. It is worth mentioning the positive psychological effect we observed in one newly diagnosed child who prior to the Drakamis workshop had a negative psychology in applying the insulin pump, yet after the workshop his psychology changed in a very positive manner and managed to apply the insulin pump. The Drakamis is just the beginning. The ultimate goal is to develop an innovative software ecosystem, engaging and connecting all the relevant stakeholders involved in the healthcare processes for the management of type 1 diabetes. In the case of type 2 diabetes, the idea is to harness the power of artificial intelligence towards the creation of reliable software environments able to support healthcare professionals in clinical decision-making and empower patients in self-disease management. To this end, a web-based system has been developed enabling clinical, demographical, and treatment data entry while offering tools for data and metadata visualization. It also features an explainable artificial intelligence-based risk prediction engine, which produces the probability of a patient to develop complications. This important information endorses the healthcare professionals in early initiating preventive measures. On the other hand, a patient's mobile app has been designed and implemented, enabling behavioral data entry while generating reminders and personalized recommendations for achieving optimal glycemic control. Explainable artificial intelligence is applied for the enhanced integration of this heterogeneous dataset. Currently, we are initiating pilot testings at the Hippocrates General Hospital of Athens in collaborations with Dr. Anastasia Thanopoulou. Trying to present News for Health road up to now, our starting point is identified as the entrance to the Invent ICT Incubator. At that point, we didn't have much experience in technology transfer and business model development. We were just a team of researchers with an idea. Throughout our participation in the program, we managed, amongst others, to develop an MVP prototype and a business model. Our first major achievement was the execution of the pilots at school settings. At the early stage of our business venture, we realized the importance of building strategic partnerships, so we pursued communicating with pharmaceutical, health insurance, and diabetes technology providers enterprises. However, we experienced difficulties in gaining access to key persons with the capacity of taking decisions on behalf of their enterprise. This was our first roadblock. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, and with the help of Invent ICT, we finally managed to establish strategic partnership with Medtronic, Insuclock, and Sanofi. The next roadblock was the COVID-19 pandemic, unfortunately, because the orientation of many pharmaceutical companies, including Sanofi, altered towards developing a COVID-19 vaccine, which in turn paused our partnership. However, during the COVID-19 pandemic, the public realized the great benefits of applying modern mHealth and digital technologies. Leveraging the public's positive perspective, we developed the clinical decision support system for the management of type 2 diabetes, which amongst others supports the remote monitoring and management of patients with diabetes. Now we are initiating the execution of the pilots at the Hippocratic General Hospital of Athens, while we're in discussions with other hospitals such as the LIEE. As I have already mentioned, our participation to the Invent ICT program was extremely helpful. We had the opportunity to participate in international exhibitions, to publish Drakamis in several media, ranging from newspapers, radio sites, and TV. We have also been awarded at the Bootcamp National Bank of Greece Business Scenes, and we received donation by the InfoQuest Technologies, in particular tablets, in order to perform our pilots. Before completing my presentation, I would like to declare that so far I haven't experienced serious gender-related issues, probably because my supervisor, Professor Konstantina Nikita, paves the way ahead. However, it is quite clear from the numbers that there is limited substantial room for female entrepreneurship. And I would like to thank you so much, again, Emilia, for inviting me and for organizing this panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Konstantia, for your very interesting presentation. Apparently, Professor Nikita is a role model for you. And
yes, he is, totally.
Are there any questions from the floor? Well, if not, could I ask something, Konstantia?
Yes.
If I understood correctly from this diagram that you presented with the how you advanced forward and the barriers you faced, COVID-19 was both a barrier but also an opportunity, because apparently the whole pandemic changed the strategic orientation of big companies such as Sanofi or Medtronic or Insuclock that you started having some collaboration with. But on the other hand, you told us that people came more accustomed to serious gaming, such as the one you presented with, and in managing and monitoring diabetes in kids. So there is a trade-off, always a trade-off.
There is always, indeed, there is a trade-off there. We continue our collaboration with the Insuclock company. It's a startup company who they are manufacturing smart insulin pens. So it is extremely important for us to receive such kind of information in order to perform all these artificial intelligence tools on this data set, and furthermore to develop our models and predict the evolution of the patient's health status. And of course, we continue having a very close collaboration with Medtronic, and now we are planning to reset the pilot testings also at the schools and at the diabetes shop of the Medtronic. And furthermore, given the opportunity that COVID-19 pandemic has created, I think that most of the public can realize the benefits of the mHealth technologies. So the second idea we have is to develop a clinical decision, an integrated clinical decision support system focusing on the management of type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is targets mainly adults, okay, not the children. So we're starting, we have already implemented part of this system, and we are initiating the execution of pilots at the Hippocratic General Hospital of Athens. Professor Sarnopoulou collaborates with us very closely, and she told us that what you are offering here, apart amongst others, it's that you're offering the opportunity for remote monitoring and management of diabetes, which is crucial, especially during this period, this COVID pandemic period.
So you are targeting also a much more large market, much more larger target group. So I wish you every success.
Thank you so much.
Are there any other questions? So if not, we're going to move on with our next speaker, Ellie Katsiri, who is project lead of SIBA IoT, a startup part of Innocence Informatics a company that develops and promotes reliable air quality sensing devices using the Internet of Things. Ellie, thank you for being here with us today, and the floor is yours. Thank you. You're muted. I think you're muted.
Thank you. Good evening. Emilia, thank you very much for this opportunity to present SIBA IoT in this event, and I will load my presentation. Okay. Hello, my name is Eleftheria Katsiri. I am assistant professor at the School of Electrical and Computer Engineering at the Democritus University of Thrace, and I am co-founder and product lead of SIBA IoT, a team operating through Innocence Informatics company. I will talk to you about, briefly, I will present how we have done so far and what we are all about, highlight some of our achievements, and focus a little bit more on some challenges that we are currently facing, also in view of the recent pandemic, which is, of course, ongoing. The problem we are tackling is that of air pollution. Well, it's well known that it accounts for thousands of dollars of years of healthy living lost due to disease or death. It's also responsible for up to 2.9 billion deaths. Indoor air is even worse, 2 to 5 times and sometimes up to 100 times more polluted. And recently there is a proven relationship not only of the burden of disease of air pollution, but also of a relationship between air pollution and microorganisms, including viruses such as the new coronavirus. Therefore, the COVID-19 pandemic has introduced a need to monitor indoor air in order, among others, to protect citizens while reopening society and economy. This has been a huge opportunity for us. And although our motivation originally was to develop a technology for detecting with high reliability air pollutants, our current motivation is also to detect with our technology viruses in ambient air. Our value proposition is that we can develop and promote to the market these air quality sensing devices that are reliable but have a fraction of the cost. And by this I mean in comparison with large government-based stations that are extremely expensive, that operate in fixed locations. And in the case of our country, in fact, the network of these space stations is quite sparse. So large portions of our country, like, for example, Thessaly, only have a very, very small number of base stations monitoring air quality. And this is something that there is now an effort to fix. On the other hand, lab instruments that academics use for monitoring air quality are also quite expensive, in the amounts of tens of thousands of euros, not dollars necessarily. And the other problem is that every year these academics or scientists need to procure replacement sensors that are also very expensive. This makes it very difficult to maintain an infrastructure of sensors for monitoring air quality. Our products, on the other hand, are much lower, have a much lower cost, and they can constitute an intermediate product which somebody can buy in order to develop and monitor air quality at locations of interest. So our aim is to act as an environmental awareness and protection tool, mainly indoors, but we could do it outdoors. And the market we are targeting is the market of the workplace, where we have found out that there is a need for our products. And so the industry, smart cities such as municipalities with public spaces, and the workplace, outdoors and indoors. We are currently the only company in Greece that has a product in air quality, and especially our own product. So that's quite unique in our case. And this presents our architecture, how these solutions work. Our devices can be seen on the left-hand side of this picture. They are sensing devices that can operate either in an online mode, sending measurements to the cloud, or autonomously if there is no internet connection. And they also have the ability to store the measurements until if the internet connection is disrupted, until it is restored. Furthermore, because of using the IoT protocols, our sensors can be connected with actuators and change, for example, the ventilation settings. And this is something which, in fact, we have not been able to pilot yet. However, on the other side, on the cloud, we have our own cloud services for visualizing the data, for producing analytics, and for sending notifications. We also have a software application where other data can be uploaded in the cloud in order to make richer decision making. Our technology consists of actually exploits, leverages the low-cost sensing technology. This is a technology that allows measuring, monitoring with high spatial and temporal granularity, so in dense networks. And this, in combination with pre-calibrated sensors that we use that provide certified measurement and embedded software that makes sure that the data gets to the cloud in real time, and also aggregates and calculates some indices, make it possible to do things that were not possible with large base stations or alternative technologies. For example, finding out sources of pollution that are transient. We have developed the following products: particulate matter, differential pressure, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and emission monitoring. We also have a product under development, which is for oxygen, hydrogen peroxide, which is a sterilization product for the industry. All these products are at a high TRL level. They are at TRL level 7, for example, and what is still, they have been piloted, tested, patented, and what is pending is some certification. I will talk about it later, so that they can be products that are on the market. We also have a number of cloud services. These are the ones that we are developing currently: an indoor air quality index, an aggregated exposure index, an infection risk index, an index for assessing the efficiency of ventilation of an indoor area, an index that estimates how many people are in an area, and then a thermal comfort model by an American standard. In terms of our roadmap, like also Konstantia mentioned in the previous presentation, we also started by applying to the Invent ICT program in the first cycle, and which allowed us to receive a lot of mentoring and coaching, and eventually produce our MVP product and the business plan. After graduating from the program in 2018, we spent our efforts in trying to protect the intellectual property of our solution, but also trying to test our solutions, to develop our products and test our solutions and find out where we belong in terms of in the market. The most important landmark that happened was the fact that we were awarded a paid pilot award in the Friesland Campina Idea Challenge competition. And this, I will talk about it very briefly later, allowed us to develop our products. And it also allowed us to find out which market we should be targeting, which market needed our products. This was also in combination with a set of exhibitions that we also attended, where we found out through interacting with visitors that we were able to confirm that the workplace market was the right one for us. Also, several more proof of concept projects followed, and I will talk to you. One was in the European project Cross for Health. The other one was monitoring an IT office, and recently Athens Digital Lab and the Komotini Municipality are two pilots that we are running. So we can say that we have developed our solution and tested it in a highly automated industrial domain, an independent living home, an office environment, a central municipality building, an athletic space, an international exhibition, and the meteorological station is another product which we have been asked to develop. This is mentioning what happened during our Invent ICT program, participation in the program. These are two photographs from our MVP product that we were able to build in the course of this program. And this is when I would like to talk to you a little bit about our new Friesland Campina pilot. This is a drawing of their production plant in Patras. It consists of 3 areas where from the left-hand side is where the milk is being delivered. In the left-hand side area, milk is stored and mixed according to the recipes to produce yogurt and different kinds of bottled milk. In the middle of the plant is the aseptic filling room, where bottles and cases are filled, and on the right-hand side is packaging. We developed 20 devices 17 were actually measuring particulate matter. 3 were measuring differential pressure, and there are 2 devices which are currently being calibrated. They are not being deployed yet, which measure hydrogen peroxide. And 3 of the particulate matter devices were placed outdoors to monitor outdoor pollution, and the rest were placed indoors. What we looked for in this pilot is clearly to measure air quality in the plants in real time, reliably, but also to assess the ventilation, whether it was good, by measuring airflow. We were also able to develop a cloud analytics platform and to replace the one that we developed during the program by one that is much more flexible in terms of its analytics. What is perhaps more interesting so one of the goals of this product was to find out whether there were any sources of pollution. For example, whether the Saharan dust affects the quality of the products, because the engineers had found out that sometimes in the yogurt there was a small thing on the top, a sort of a layer, which they believed was caused by infection or pollution. And also to what was the most important thing that we did perhaps was to try and make a link between air quality and microorganisms, such as molds and fungi. This is a slide from this work. We were lucky because the team, the health and safety team, was actually measuring a bioaerosol, and this is the original work that where we plotted their measurements and we aggregated ours in 4-hour time lapses, and we can see that there is some correlation. We are continuing this work also through some research currently. Our second pilot had to do with home care. We coupled our devices with a smart pillbox and with voice interfaces and a health management app developed by another startup company called Tech Apps Healthier, with which we partnered in order to apply to this second open call and get the funding to do a pilot. And so the idea was that people who suffered from chronic diseases could be monitored at home while they recovered. And we originally contacted the Onassis Hospital, planning to do a pilot, but then because of the pandemic, this was abandoned, in fact. Now we have another project, an innovation action by a Hellenic project, the original one, national one, and we are continuing this work. The third pilot was in an IT office space. The goal of this pilot was to help the company pass the ISO certification, the ISO workplace certification, which required monitoring of the microclimate. And so we performed a 2-day experiment, going to several offices and areas of their office space and measuring air quality. We focused in 2 areas. One was an office space over a busy road, and the second one was an office space over a quiet road. And we measured, using our PM and MVP devices, both particulate matter concentration and internal air pollutant concentrations. We found that in the office space over the busy road, when you open the window, for example, here it was carbon monoxide, the levels of carbon monoxide concentration rose significantly, of course not very much. And so we then, by closing the window, they were stabilized. And in the other hand, on the office that was overlooking a quiet road, we didn't have any, almost 0 concentrations of this, let's say, outdoor pollutants, but there was dust in the carpet. And so every time, at some point, somebody vacuumed the room, and there were high concentration, there was a fluctuation of particulate matter concentration. And so then this was presented in the officer, and some recommendations were made as to the carpets and so on. The third pilot is the Athens Digital Lab one. This has started a year ago, and it's now at the stage where an agreement has been signed between CBIOT and Athens Digital Lab. We are developing the devices to monitor air quality and estimate the risk of infection by viruses in the Lyceum 66 building, which is a municipality building for where people pay lots of pay the council tax and the property tax. There are some areas which are indoors. You can see this picture. They do not have good ventilation, and they have lots of visitors paying their taxes there. And also where the municipality has installed these instruments for sterilization of the air. The aim here is to calculate these indices or indexes that I talked to you about, and to find out whether these devices actually work. The fourth pilot is very similar to this one. It will take place in Komotini in an indoor athletic space. This is very important because in the literature, these indoor spaces, they are particularly affected or aggravated by viruses and pollutants. And in fact, because of the sweating and breathing of the athletes, and in fact, it has been found that they should be ventilated 20 times more rigorously than the rest of public spaces. So the aim of our pilot is to determine exactly the levels of pollution, measure the ventilation, and also see whether which part of the stadium, the visitor area, the referee area, the changing rooms, or the coach benches is perhaps investigate what's happening in these particular areas. This is in coordination and collaboration with the Department of Athletics and the medical school, where they will also be placing sensors on the athletes and making blood tests so that a more holistic approach on their practice can be established. Last, during the exhibitions, we are also measuring, we measured air quality in the pavilion where we were seated in MWC, Mobile World Congress. It was the first time that we went to a Congress with under COVID-19, and where we found that air quality was in fact not so good. We're also developing a meteorological station. It can be, the challenges here is that there is no, it's going to operate in Thessaly, in a rural area. There is no connectivity. It needs cellular technology, solar panels. There's no mains power. It needs low power components, more low power than we have, remote management. And this is actually a product that is required also for ambient monitoring scenarios, as scientists also use it to find out the orientation and speed of airflows when they measure air pollution. I will talk to you in terms of challenges. I don't want to waste a lot of time just about this product industrialization and mass production challenge that we are facing, because we are trying to get our products to the market. We have been trying to find out what is required to get a product to the market, which is not trivial. There are issues here that relate to the regulation. For example, a CE certification is something that you need to your device, our device has to conform to in order to be allowed to go to the market. There are technical issues that I think can be summarized with the word designing for manufacturing, because we have hardware components and mechanical components in our enclosure, for example, and this needs to be manufactured. And also the software needs to be in a state that it needs to be resilient, basically. So these are challenges for us to find out how to address this. There is also a strategical issue which we are investigating, which has to do with where the manufacturing will take place. Will it take place in-house Will it be outsourced? Will it be a hybrid solution, or are we going to have a partner to do it for us? This is something that is currently our aim to find out. We will try to investigate all paths. If we do a in-house solution, we will need some funding for setting up a manufacturing type of process, even if it's only the last bit of this process, which is the assembly of the system. And while some of the components are outsourced, which is also requires, of course, funding. So this is actually here, there is a need for some funding. And there is also an issue of trust and intellectual property, because if we go for the partnership solution, some thought is needed here to find out how this collaboration can be done in a trustworthy manner. Also because it's one thing to lease a patent, and it's another thing to actually have a product of some kind and go to a company and request for a collaboration. It's not clear exactly what the mechanism is for making the transition or making this partnership. A patent attorney apparently is the person to ask. COVID-19 has been for us a challenge in the sense that the pilots stopped during both times we were closed, because the industry, of course, has challenges to survive, and then having a pilot is not the most critical aspect for them. For example, Friesland Campina found out that because they sell some products to restaurants, all restaurants closed, so they had a huge problem with some cream they were selling. And so they actually suffered through the first pandemic, and we were not able to have their attention all the time. Second, I would like to tell you basically a little bit about the opportunity that COVID introduced. A huge opportunity for us, because it made us change our focus towards estimating the risk of infection, of not directly but indirectly monitoring microorganisms. Climate change is another thing that is actually beneficial for us.
Ellie, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I would kindly ask you to speed up because we're ahead of schedule. Thank you.
I think I am done. Just to say that opportunities arise for us also in monitoring outdoors, and for example, monitoring emissions from electric vehicles. All these things are possible applications for us, but also it requires changes in our product. I think I can stop here. Thank you very much for your attention. Just to show our team, this is our team, 3 computer engineers. I am only me academic, 1 academic advisor on environment, and 1 technical assistant. And thank you very much for your attention. And sorry to have taken up so much time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sorry for interrupting, but we are behind schedule and we will have to catch up. Very interesting presentation. It shows that you've done a lot during these years. I think the major challenge here is the product industrialization thing, which is major and has many different dimensions: regulation, technical, strategical, financial, and so on. It's good that you showed the pandemic had posed barriers, but it also some opportunities seem to be emerging, because we are looking at the environment more in our closed in our homes and so on. Are there any questions from the floor or any comments, please?
Emilia.
No, of course.
Okay. First of all, congratulations. As I have followed your, let's say, path from the lab to the market, I see tremendous change, and I believe one of the issues that we have to somehow think about it as a more general approach is that you very early you went to establish relationship with firms or other actors in order to get some feedback from the field and not just theoretically trying to improve your, let's say, approach. My question is, as we know, many of the big funds, I'm not talking about the funds for startups, but also about the funds for the recovery and the resilience program, or the fund for the next framework program, where there are money for funding firms or other actors in order to adopt measures towards climate change and all these environmental issues. Are you thinking of collaborating, as you have now, since now, a collaboration experience with industries and other actors? Is this in your strategy that you can let's establish some collaborations in order to present your ideas in practice and get some funding from these sources?
Thank you, Professor Kalogiru, very much, first of all, for your good words. And yes, certainly I am thinking about this. It is one of the goals I would like to achieve. I know of one of these proposals that will be, in fact, will come out. And it seems that it focuses on outdoor environment. So one of the problems, so this is now also an opportunity, but our devices are indoor ones. So this comes with, we need to make some changes. We need to do a little bit more development to make it. However, the strategy you suggest, actually making partnerships with large companies, is something that we would really, really like to pursue. Companies, for example, that make cars or electric cars, or companies that make dehumidifiers, filters, this type of things, or building systems, smarter buildings. And these are some of the thoughts that we have done in this. We would really like to pursue this.
Okay, thank you.
But it's not a straightforward application of what we have done so far. But this is not a bad thing, I guess.
But perhaps you can somehow have let's say two paths. So one is to develop a new device. The second is to act as a consultant to firms that are willing to develop this kind of systems in order to improve their quality of the air within the firm, or outdoors or indoors.
Okay, this is a very good idea. Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Emilia?
Yes, Joanna.
If we have 1 minute, I have a question.
Yes, we have 1 minute.
Okay, thanks. As we are in the context of a workshop related to women entrepreneurship, I was wondering, and I would be very interested to hear if there are any specific barriers for all these women that are activated in the field of research and entrepreneurship, that specific barriers that are related to this gender issue. Because until now, okay, I understand, and I heard about the general barriers that relate to startups and to moving from research to the market, but I would be very interested to hear if there is anything that they can say about that.
I have one comment, if you don't mind my taking since I have the floor. That is, when I tried to contact some IT companies in hardware to ask them whether they could help us industrialize our product, and I sensed that, in fact, I went with the team of everybody who was also not male or not female, because I sensed that, in fact, I was told that I should ask my husband to talk to the technicians about how to do it, even this. So I think this bit where you talk to companies that are in IT and microelectronics, and they don't, I feel they don't take me seriously. But of course, that was one case, but I think there are, so this is a little bit of, and the funds as well, which they do take us seriously, but this is the other bit where I always sense that being a woman is not, I was being overlooked sometimes. Imagine that. Thank you.
This practically means that there are gender stereotypes and gender-related barriers that women have to surpass, and often have to work harder than men to prove themselves.
Absolutely, yes.
Anyway, so thank you so much, Ellie, for being here with us today and showing your tremendous progress with your idea and your work. And now we will move on with how birth to new business ideas is given. And I will give the floor to Andromachi Gianni. Andromachi is a postdoctoral researcher at the Laboratory of Organic Chemistry at the School of Chemical Engineering of the National Technical University of Athens. She's going to present us the work of her research team on green chemistry and engineering solutions for sustainable applications. Her team is mainly composed by young female researchers under the supervision of Professor Anastasia Vetsi. So, Andromachi, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for your kind introduction. Please let me start sharing my screen. Can you see my...
Yes.
Okay. So, thank you again. My name is Andromachi Gianni, and I'm a postdoctoral researcher. And today I will talk to you about the green chemistry and engineering solutions for sustainable applications. And mainly I will focus on some case studies regarding the use of green solvents for the valorization of biomass and biowaste. First of all, I would like to present to you our team. This is our research team working under the guidance and the supervision of our professor Anastasia Vetsi in the organic chemistry lab. As you can see, we are a multidisciplinary research team. We work two postdoctoral researchers, 10 PhD students, and we are more than 15 undergraduate and master students per year. Our research activity can be divided in three main axes. Today, the medicinal chemistry, the green chemistry, and the nanotechnology. But today, I will talk to you for the green chemistry field, since this is the field that I mainly work since I started my PhD studies until now that I'm a postdoctoral researcher. And in this field, we target mainly the design, the synthesis, and the characterization of novel green solvents, such as the ionic liquids and the dicritic solvents. We work on the green organic synthesis using high energy techniques and in the development of green extraction processes in order to obtain valuable added extracts. Our research activity it could be difficult to be done in these three axes without the collaborations and the funding support. Here you can see some institutes, universities, industries, organizations that we work with. And of course, the funding is really important from national and European organizations and foundations. Here, I would like also to say that we participate in cost action, the greener cost action, which is what we are talking about today, about the connection between the university and the industries. And the main aim of this action is to pass from the lab scale to the larger scale. So this is what we are talking today. The organic chemistry lab has, let's say, experience in the green chemistry field since 2012. This is the starting point also for my PhD studies. We started by synthesizing ionic liquids, design and synthesize ionic liquids, and using them for various applications. Here you can see some indicative applications of these solvents. And then we continue by design and synthesis other novel solvents, such as the deep eutectic solvents. And we continue since now on with our main aim is to continue to be innovative and create new ideas. So before I start to talk to you about the case studies that I select today to discuss, I would like to say a few things about those green solvents. So we have two categories that we work with. They are the ionic liquids, the first category, that are solvents that derived from a proton transfer reaction. We can task specifically select the components, and we obtain a salt. We could say we obtain a salt that it's in a liquid form in very low temperatures, even in room temperature and lower. Then the deep eutectic solvents are more, I could say they're greener solvents than ionic liquids. They share together some advantages, some common advantages. The deep eutectic solvents are mixtures mainly. Again, we can task specifically select the components that they derive from. So we have the deep eutectic solvents, the natural deep eutectic solvents, and the therapeutic deep eutectic solvents. Those solvents, the DESIs, they are considered to be the green solvents of the 21st century because of their many advantages. They can be scaled up easily, they can be easily produced. We have 100% atom economy. The advantages are many.
Oh, we are not there.
Sorry. So those solvents, they are known since 2011, but if we think deeper, we really know these solvents from our everyday life. The honey is one of those solvents because honey consists of glucose, fructose, and sucrose. Those are three solid in a solid state compounds that if we mix them together in specific molar ratios, they will form honey. So they are common to us. So in our group, we are using the green chemistry in order to find solutions in real problems. First of all, we have the target to task-specific design those solvents. This is important because we can select the individual components and give to our solvents some properties that we want about specific applications, such as we can control the pH, the viscosity, their bioactivity, and this kind of stuff. And here you can see some of the main research areas, some of the main applications that we have used deep eutectic solvents and ionic liquids in organic synthesis as solvents and catalysts, in protein crystallization, in the synthesis of silver nanoparticles, in the CO2 capture, and also in the valorization of biomass and biowaste, obtaining extracts that we can use them in order to design added value products. And this is the category that we will talk and we will discuss today, because this is the most mature work that we have relating our path from the lab to something higher, let's say.
Oh, nice.
So before starting discussing the case studies, I would like
Close
to
the Wi-Fi and this is still talking.
I would like to
ask, I'm sorry,
Sorry?
Andromache. I'd like to
Yes.
ask all participants to mute their mics, please, because I see some mics are open and are. Thank you. Sorry, Andromache.
Thank you. No, it's okay.
No.
So here are some of the main advantages of using this kind of solvents in applications like extractions. They are alternative solvents. We can task-specifically design them, and so we can reduce the use of volatile organic solvents that they are toxic in many cases. So this is one of the main principles of the 12 principles of the green chemistry. We can obtain biocompatible extracts since the solvents could have their own bioactivity if we design them to have a bioactivity. And thus, we can use the extracts as obtained for further applications without any purification and without any isolation steps. And moreover, those solvents can be used as stabilizing and protective agents for the bioactive compounds that we will take from the biomass or the bio-waste that we will extract, let's say. And this is why we can find an extending shelf-life of these components inside the green solvents. So here in this image, you can see different natural products, bio-waste and biomass that we have studied to extract valuable compounds using the NADESs. Those extracts could be used, we try to use them for potential development of novel products such as cosmetic formulations, biocompatible films, and hydrogels. So the main methodology that we use is to design the targeted design synthesis of the solvents and the total characterization of them. Their use for extraction processes using high energy techniques such as ultrasound assisted extraction or microwaves, or just using the conventional, let's say, heating and stirring extraction method. Moreover, we optimize this process by using a really valuable tool for us, the experimental design, and then the extracts are characterized with various protocols and assays and with HPLC analysis for their further use and other applications. So the first case study that I selected today to present to you is funded by the State Scholarship Foundation. This is a scholarship for my postdoctoral research. This year is the end year of this program. I could say that it was a successful try to valorize agro wastes like the olive leaves. We have used deputy solvents in order to obtain some very valuable compounds from olive leaves that they are also sensitive. And in many cases, when using conventional solvents, we destroy them. And also we use the natural deputic solvents in order to extract valuable compounds from a natural product such as the Greek propolis. Then the second case study is a program that it's running now. It started this year. Here you can see the collaboration that we have with other institutes and the industries and organizations. This is the green wild rose. Here you can see in this image the wild rose. This is the starting material that we will try to extract some really valuable compounds using those solvents. And the thing here is that we want to obtain a final product with a cosmetic use. And the third case study that I would like to present to you is the valorization of industrial waste in this case. With this idea, we took part in a contest, in the Idea Challenge contest of LIEE, and we awarded for this idea with the consulting support of the company. So the main idea here was that the main waste of this industry is the cheese way. So the industries, they try to find smart solutions to valorize this way because it's full of protein and biocompatible and bioactive components. And they have found some things to do with this, but here we propose something different. We propose to use those biocompatible solvents, the targeted designed natural deputic solvents, in order to obtain the proteins from the whey and the valuable compounds. And then with a circularity, we could say, the same industry can use these extract aceties in order to obtain high protein products. Maybe it can be incorporated this extract in yogurts or this kind of products. And also, these extracts can be used in order to form protein films that they can be used as coating materials for cheese, for example. So this was our idea, and we are very happy that we awarded for this. So to summarize, if I could say something for our scientific journey, is that we have the people, we are the people, we love what we do, we have the facilities in our lab and in our school, we have the ideas, and we have also some hurdles to overcome. Maybe we would like to have some help in the interaction between the university and the industry in order to get to know the problems and then find solutions for these problems, and also to have support, financial and legal, I could say, for patents in order to protect our products, and also support for making maybe a spin-off company. I know that in this case, there are some very important steps in our school and in our university, and this is very good for us, and we are happy to have these steps. So I would like to thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, thank you.
Thank you very much, Andromachi. Very, very interesting presentation. It's so nice, inspiring, and hopeful to see such initiatives, many different application of products, useful products. And although collaboration with industry, with Greek university and industry seems to be missing in general, it seems that you are collaborating a lot. And I want to ask, it seems that you are collaborating in the context of national projects, but are there industries actually approaching you in order that you solve their problems?
Thank you for your question. Yes, we are trying to be open in collaborations. This is something that our professor really tries to do it. Yes, lately I could say the last few years we can see that there is an interest from the industry approaching the university, and this is really helpful. But I think that we have road in order to reach where we want and we would like. But yes, there is a progress.
Yes, there's lots to be done in terms of institutions.
Yes.
Are there any questions or comments? Okay. If not, then we are going. Thank you very much, Andromachi.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we're going to move on with our program. And here it's actually a part of the program relating to the Invent ICT Incubator. We have seen that two companies presented here today, News for Health and SIBA IoT, actually started from Invent ICT. We have here with us today LIEE NTUA, who is Assistant Project Manager at Invent ICT, and she's going to talk to us about the participation of women in teams supported by the Invent ICT program. Thank you, Eleni. And the floor is yours. Thank you. It seems that you're muted.
Unmute, unmute.
Can you hear me? No,
Yes.
now you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, let's start now with the presentation. So thank you, Mrs. Emilia and Professor Kalogiru for the opportunity to present in today's event. It is always a great pleasure to be active in the laboratory's events. And let me start with this presentation. So my name is Eleni Mitsea. I'm the Assistant Project Manager of Invent ICT. And today I will present you some interesting results about women entrepreneurship, deep tech entrepreneurship, from the 3 cycles of the program. Now, first of all, for those of you, okay, sorry, stuck a bit. For those of you who don't know Invent ICT, it is an incubator that focuses on supporting startup teams from the academic institute and research centers in order to develop their ideas, access funding, and network with the startup ecosystem. The program is composed of 3 partners, the first one being the Incubator from the Institute of Communication and Computer Systems, of NTUA, the NGO Industry Disruptors Game Changers, and the Greek Mobile Operators Association, who also funds the program. Now, the main difference of the program from other incubators is, first of all, the personalized mentoring and coaching sessions, which are developed after analyzing each team's needs and then matching them with the appropriate mentor who can then answer these needs. Also, we cooperate with international and European institutes and organizations, such as the Belgian ESO Quadrat, in order to obtain their knowledge and experience and then use it to improve our services. Also, we cooperate with executives from the private and public sector, as well as NTUA graduates, to create a network that can support startup teams. Furthermore, our main goal is to support ideas that are a result of research from academic institutes with high technological content. So the important is that Invent ICT focuses on deep tech entrepreneurship, which, as I said, is the valorization of important research results. And the importance of this kind of entrepreneurship for the economy is that it can reach the development of new products and services with high added value that can solve real-life problems, and thus they can lead to more financing and more opportunities for profit and access to new markets. So deep tech startups are the main linkage to research and market needs.
If I may interrupt, Eleni, I'm sorry, but we can't hear you very well. It seems that your connection is unstable, or your mic, something. Could you please speak up?
Can you hear me if I put it closer? Better or no? Okay, let me see if I can change my. Sorry, I'll stop sharing for a moment. So.
Αυτά θα μου τα βάλετε σε μια τσαντούλα και τα άλλα θα τα πάρω εγώ.
So maybe you can hear me better.
Στη δικιά μου τσαντούλα, για να είναι τα κατευθυνμένα μόνα του. Όχι.
Okay. Well, let me see.
Ωραία. Τελειώσαμε.
It seems that we lost Eleni, but I hope she will come back. Technical difficulties.
No, you cannot hear me.
Yes, we can hear you very well now.
One, two, three. No.
We can
Now,
hear
now
you.
you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, I've tried literally everything. So I took off my speakers because I think that was the problem. Now you can hear me.
Okay, yes, yes.
I cannot hear you though.
You can't
Anyway,
hear
I'll
me.
continue with the presentation, and maybe if there's someone who wants to answer something, I can write in the chat because I cannot hear anyone else.
Okay.
So sorry, I don't know what happened. Maybe it's a problem with the computer. So let me continue with the presentation. Here are the main results of the product from the three cycles. We see that we have many applications and over 370 participants with high academic background. As we can see that 25% of these participants have a PhD. And also another very important fact is that our startup, the startups that we have supported had great performances and gained over 1 million euros in funding. So coming to today's topic, we gathered information from the teams about women in deep tech, and here are the main results. First of all, we can confirm that there are fewer women in deep tech fields. An average percentage of 25% of the participants are women. And also 1 out of 5 teams have a woman as a team leader. And I believe that these percentages agree with the European statistics that Mrs. Emilia presented us before. We can see that the percentages are pretty much stable for the 3 cycles. So that is also a fact that we should consider. Furthermore, we analyzed the teams that had a man as their team leader, and from these teams, how many did they graduate, and also teams that had a woman as a team leader, and from these teams, how many graduated, to see if there were any differences, and if there was a difference in the level of success, let's say. From this diagram, we can see that there was no difference, that both categories are performing the same and have the same level of success, which is very important. And also we can see that each cycle, the teams that are successful and don't drop out during the cycles are more, which show that startups in deep tech ecosystem are more mature and ready to develop their idea. Also, we found out that the main fields that the women entrepreneurs are more active are education, environment, health, tourism, and IoT applications. More for Invent ICT program. In general, I think there are more, but for Invent ICT, those were the basic fields. Now, coming to the level of education, this is the average percentage for the 3 cycles. We see that there is no significant difference in the educational level. We see that most participants are undergraduate students and graduates, and also there is a very high percentage of PhD holders, which show the high academic background of the participants due to the fact that the ideas derived from universities, so it is logical that the participants have a higher academic background. The only difference that we can see is the category of PhD holder, where the percentage of men is a bit larger than women, but that balances out with the category of PhD candidate, where we see that the percentage of women is larger. So we can see that there is a harmony in the level of education. We also analyze the working status. Sorry. Okay, the working status of the team, which means that if the participants are occupied themselves with another activity apart from the startup, That is why we have the unemployed category, which means that one participant was only focusing on the startup and not another activity. So we can see that there are low levels of participation of women in teaching staff. Actually, it's half the percentage of men, and this is understandable because the participants are deriving from academic institutes, technical academic institutes that attract more men. So it is natural that the percentage is higher in men. Also, we see that there are more unemployed women than men, which shows that women are focusing more on their startup and not on another activity parallel. So again, we studied the composition of the team to see if the members were all men or women or both categories. We found out that the vast majority of the teams were composed by only men, which is natural because, as I said before, the ideas are deriving from academic institutes that attract more men, thus it is more likely to find a man as a partner to create a startup. So we see that only 6% of the teams are composed by only women, but the positive fact is that 37% of the teams are composed by both men and women, which is actually the percentage we want to increase because that percentage shows equality and the cooperation between men and women, which is what we want essentially. We also analyzed the teams that have broken up after the graduation from the first and second cycle because the third one has just finished, so we couldn't gather information. So from the teams that have graduated, 17% seems to have broken up due to lack of investment and other responsibilities like daily jobs. From this percentage, 25% of the teams had a woman as a team leader, which is natural because there are fewer women team leaders, so the percentages are similar here. So as a program, we try to empower women and support them in every way that we can. And this can be seen by the fact that 2 out of the 6 success stories are teams with women as their leader. And I'm very happy to see both of them here in the event. It's Eli Katsiri with SIBA and Konstantina Zakoyani with News for Health. And I'm more happy to see that they gain a lot from their experience in Invent ICT and that we have actually helped them to develop their ideas. So this is very important for us. One other important aspect is that we organize events about women entrepreneurship, and we also participate in such events to promote women and bring them to the front. Here we have some of the events: Women Entrepreneurship Week 2019, the Thessaloniki International Fair, Mobile World Congress, and it seems that I have chosen the same events as Konstantina did in her presentation, but they're the main events of Invent ICT program. So, as I said, we try to empower women to be more active in the deep tech field. And with each cycle, we can see that there are more mature companies, startup companies, with higher women participants. So we can only wait for the future to see how these percentages will increase maybe. For the time being, we can only keep providing the tools to these startups to exploit their research and develop their ideas. So thank you very much. I hope you could hear me well, and I'm open to questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Eleni. I don't know if you can hear us now.
Not really. Wait, maybe if I could put my speaker again and then take it off, I'll see.
So can you hear us or not?
No, I cannot hear you again.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
Just a moment to see if this works better. Okay, yes.
Can you hear us now? No.
Yeah, I can hear you now, yes.
Okay. Yes. So are there any questions from the floor to Eleni? She can hear us now. She gave us a very nice picture of the women participation in the Invent ICT program.
I would like to make not really a question, but a comment directly to what Eleni said. just to say that I attended this Beyond 4, Industry 4, basically. And there was a team from Invent ICT where there were 2 women leaders. There were 2 women members, also very good looking. And there was also a student with me, and he was so impressed. He asked me who is their supervisor. And he asked me how old are they. I said they are like fourth year in university. And he said, where is their supervisor? And I said, they don't have a supervisor, they are on their own. And he told me, is this allowed? He was really, really impressed. He is a boy who is not accustomed. Huh? It's not that he had any bad, he meant very well, but he was so surprised that 2 students, 3rd year, they come to an exhibition also with all these politicians and so on. So I just wanted to say what an effect really this is to, maybe we are used to it, but to the general. I thought it was very impressive that he was so impressed by this, and he says that what girls really can be, yes, up to.
That specific is very active, and actually we've been in last year's week, and they presented their idea, the psychology cycles, and it's very interesting to see that students participate this actively in startup ecosystem. Yeah, they're a great example.
Okay, so we have to move on because we are behind schedule. Our last speaker, who is Mrs. Evgenia Androukaki. She's executive business coach and senior HR consultant. She has a great expertise in people development, and her experience comes both from the private and public sector as well as non-governmental organizations. So Evgenia, the floor is yours. Thank you for being here with us today. Thank you so much. Please unmute.
Thank you for the introduction, and I will try to share my presentation now.
Thank you.
Okay, first of all, I would like to thank you, all the organizing committee, for inviting me to speak in this so interesting conference. Having already coached the woman CEO of a startup coming from Invent ICT in 2020, I already admire your work, which ends up connecting academia with the market, which is essential for innovation sustainability in this constantly changing business and life environment. Actually, Margot Uchi from Invent was an amazing young woman representing this connection. She had a day job, she was finishing her master's degree in NTUA, and she was the CEO of a startup, setting up her own business, coordinating a team of 3, and looking for investors. Professor Yannis Kalogyro and Emilia Protogerou suggested to me, okay, speak as a coach, coaching women entrepreneurs. Great, that's my field. And then I thought that I have a client who can tell everything I want to tell you through her long life and work story. My client could not be here, so I will narrate her story for her. It's a woman, as you correctly guess. I will tell you her story without revealing any details that could lead you to her identity, since confidentiality is indispensable in the coaching relationship. My client, being at her late 40s, has had a long and diverse career so far. She started with her first degree in the university in a technical field. While student, she dreamed to continue her career in academia. Soon, she was carried out by another vision, though. Inspired by a charismatic professor in the university, together with a small number of student mates, they created a non-governmental organization. Initially, my client was working on a volunteer basis, later on as a professional, making use of her degree. As the years passed, my client grew up as a professional. She tried a bit harder than the men to prove herself, to lead her team, to be present, and she acquired a lot of extra skills, such as communication, leadership, navigation in diverse environments, crisis management, resilience, and many more valuable in any working environment. Later in her career, she used these skills working as an advisor to a woman politician and then to a man politician. Apart from pursuing her own career, she observed the attitude of people in this super antagonistic environment and the way the other politicians thought the politicians supported. Sometimes, instead of political arguments, they used personal, unethical ones. And that was mostly obvious for the woman, where sexist and insulting comments were often heard by her opponents or even people of the same party. But still, the woman politician acted like she did not hear them. She was just proceeding to her policy as planned. My client told me that this attitude gave her inspiration and strength to be by her in this mission. Then my client decided to move on to the private sector, so she acquired a relevant master's degree in order to feel solid and understand how private business works, and she carried on with her career in a big multinational organization. Entering the private sector, she saw that the truth was not very different from the women there. In a business environment where rights were protected and the family was entitled to a number of benefits, glass ceiling was obvious. 51% of the company's employees were women, while they held only 17% of directors' positions and only one woman participated in the 11-member board. Recently, my client decided to take the risk and start her own business. Actually, it was then when she hired me to help her as her coach. From the start, I explained to her that I would not help her by providing any solutions or advice. Coaching is a collaborative relationship where the coach offers the process and the client makes her own decisions and draws her own path according to her wishes, her values, her environment, maintaining what she wants to keep and changing what she wants to change. We explored together the area of services that she wanted to offer. We explored the market, the potential risks, and the financial instruments, some of them promoting especially women's entrepreneurship. We also explored the business communication, the creation of a solid base of customers and partners. We worked with her obstacles and insecurities as she was drawing her own business path. As we were working on her current and future goals, she revealed her story to me. I realized that although she often faced a different treatment in comparison with her male colleagues, co-workers, or even competitors, she did not stray from what she wanted to succeed. With each condition, she was absorbing experience and she proceeded. And if the obstacles were more, it would strengthen her. Moreover, in her long career, she could not avoid mistakes. She learned from them, and she used these learnings for the future. At one point, she told me, "The truth is that we strive to be the same as men, while we are so different. And turning this difference to our own advantage, we can make the difference. In business, in organizations, in politics. I remain strong and persistent because I have learned to overcome difficult obstacles. And whatever I gain it because I'm worth it." And actually, that is my message to all you people. It does not matter if you were born women or men, rich or poor, people of whatever ethnicity, tradition, religion, or sexual orientation, impaired or favored for whatever reason. Just go out there and chase all the things that excite you and fulfill your dreams just because you're worth it and you work hard for your wants and goals. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your inspiring last message and your presentation, of course. Are there any questions from the floor? So if I may ask something, based on your long experience in coaching people, would you, of course, your last message was universal, not actually discriminating between men and women, but would you say that there are some differences or some more difficulties or more in coaching men or women?
Okay. My feeling is everybody faces their own challenges, and it's not about being men or women. I mean, they have their own challenges, and actually, as okay, the younger ages feel about the same about work-life balance, for example. Older ages feel sometimes the discrimination of being old, let's say. I think they don't feel, for sure, men, they don't feel favored. I can see that. And in coaching women, they feel, what I said, that they are strengthened by the obstacles. So what I see is people when I coach people, and I think that diversity is actually richness in any environment, in business, in academia, everywhere. So, and actually that's my point. Let's not make everything the same. I think by being different, we enrich life, we enrich business, we enrich everything.
Absolutely, yes. Yes, Professor Kalogiru.
Based on your experience as a coach to this program, Invent ICT, are there any takeaways that you can advise, for example, either the people that are organizing the coaching process or to the people that are participating in this, and especially the women or the people in general coming from an academic environment and trying to see what is going on outside the campus of the university?
What I saw is that people who are really there, to participate in Invent, because it takes a lot of energy from them. That's what I saw. They are really conscious. They know what they can take from academia, and they really wish to connect with the market. They are looking forward to it. I have the feeling that sometimes academia treats them like students or treats them like children. And sometimes they feel that the academia has to give them the investors. I had this feeling sometimes. They don't have to go out and look for them. They don't feel like CEOs, they don't feel like entrepreneurs. But this, I think, takes a little bit time for them. And I don't know, I think this coaching and mentorship process, which I saw and I have experienced of, it has to give them the accountability also, that we are there, we are entrepreneurs. We have to search for investors. Of course, we have a backup system there and they help us, but we have to go out and pitch for ourselves, pitch for our products, prepare our products, and be ready to face the challenges. So I think this is a bit my experience, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Are there any other questions?
May I just comment on
of course,
Androukakis' very, very, very nice presentation and point of view. I think that you shouldn't narrow all this only for the students, but also for the researchers, the academic part, trying to develop business model, trying to come out with their products, etc. This is something that the academic environment. This is a challenge that an academic environment has to face, okay? And I would also like to say that I'm very, very, very proud of being part of this Invent ICT program because and I want to support it as much as possible because I really have the same point of view with you, Professor Kalogiru, Emilia, and all the others that you're running this program, because it is extremely important to try to make transfer technology, to try to make all these research activities into business models. Okay, so thank you again, and thank you, Professor Androukaki, because it is not only for the students, this point of view, it is also for the researchers. I had this point of view, and I completely changed my point of view during my participation in the Invent ICT program.
Okay, for me, of course, I'm not professor, thank you for that, but okay. Only master. I have only an MBA, but I felt also lucky to be part of this. I feel really that I met you and I see all this.
Okay, so if there are no other questions, I would like to close the event here, and I would like to thank all our presenters and our participants for joining us this evening. It was a great pleasure and a great honor having such nice presentations, and I hope that our participants have found it inspirational and stimulating. So thank you. Thank you so much. Without your contribution, that wouldn't be possible. Thank you. Women have the power, then.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.